guys, this is Fab from Digital Fast Mind. So the challenge this time was to use SpreadSimple to track quantities of the items that are listed in their e-commerce listing. So this is a bit challenging because SpreadSimple itself doesn't track quantities or stock when you make a sale and then you go through a checkout. And this can lead to some problems because, for example, let's say you're selling something and you got like 5 in stock. People can buy even hundreds and you will have problem because you don't have enough stock. So we want to track stock and limit in some way what's happening on the e-commerce side of SpreadSimple. So this require obviously some sort of tweaking, and I decided to work with Pabbly Connect, which is pretty powerful, and I found a way to integrate it with SpreadSimple through webhooks. As a side note, I need to tell that SpreadSimple doesn't offer a function to disable the buy now button, for example, when the stock track reach 0. And this is a problem because obviously people can still overbuy. So a simple workaround I found is that through a custom function within Google Sheet itself, when quantities reach 0, it will display out of stock into the website. This is not a final workaround. I think something more is needed from their side, to be fairly honest, because I tried also some JavaScript methods, but it didn't work out as I expected due to their CSS coding as well and setting up of the element in the DOM. So let's go forward and see how to set up the Google Sheet and then advance to the workflow within Pabbly Connect. So we need now to move into SpreadSimple. Entering SpreadSimple is very important because from the left panel where we got different sections, we need to go under content, and within the specification panel, we need to add 2 fields. The new fields are availability and remaining. Availability will take care of showing within the product page if a product is in stock or out of stock. And this is based on the check that it will automatically do within the remaining column into our Google Sheet. Basically, the remaining column will show how many items we got in stock. As I said before, this will not still prevent people from overbuying because I was not able to stop the buy now button, but this is something I'm sure they will have to address themselves within SpreadSimple in the future. So let's take it from there and see how it works now with Google Sheet. So now we enter our Google Sheet file. It's pretty simple, and we just need to make sure absolutely to set it up correctly. What we need to do first is add those 3 columns. As you can see, one is called initial stock, remaining, and sold. And there is also this column called availability. Now, I didn't do anything particular. This is just a manual work at start. So I will set up the initial stock as a desired quantity. Under the remaining, we will set up exactly the same quantity, and the sold will be 0. This is our starting point, I would say. So the initial stock will reflect how many we got in stock. And this is very important for the automation to work. After that, the other field I worked with is the availability column. I added a simple function. As you can see, the function is pretty simple. It says if the column P, which is the remaining one, is set up as a 0, as a value of a 0, then the availability column will display an out of stock message instead of an available one. So we can make a test and check adding initial stock to 0, remaining to 0. And as you can see, the value of the availability column will change to reflect that change. The function will automatically trigger that message, which will reflect into the product page itself on the website. And this is how to set up the Google Sheet for the automation to work. Next step is to work now with Pabbly to create a proper workflow to interact with our Google Sheet and update it based on what happens within the website itself. This is a screenshot to show you what will now display your new fields once we map it into Google Sheet, just to make sure everything is correct. So guys, this is finally the last step of our work and journey. So first of all, a few things. I will add now something into our SpreadSimple, which is a simple webhook. Under the checkout section, you got a webhook URL. The webhook URL is something you will get in Pabbly. So when you set up a new workflow, it will create you a webhook. We need to add, as a first step, a new capture webhook, disable the simple response, and copy this value and insert here. We save and we publish. Once we do that, we need to put the webhook into Pabbly into listening mode. We click here and it will capture a webhook response. What we need to do now is place an order, a test order, into our SpreadSimple website. And once it's done, after a few seconds, you will receive a response. This is the response you will receive. So what we need to check is that the cart item field contains these values. This is an array, it's a simple array of value which is made of standard JSON key value pair. Pretty simple, but we need now to work with this field. So if you don't receive this and you got something more organized, I would say, and better mapped, I encourage you to check that you properly disable this field, because this may be the reason. So going forward, we have to select an iterator. The iterator will do something very simple. It will go through this array and map those fields in a readable format. So the API response, once we select that, save and send a test request, will be like this. Now, just a reminder, this SKU is the ID into our Google Sheet. I will show you what I mean. So here we got this Google Sheet where there is a column called ID. Into SpreadSimple content, we got something called ID under the SKU. So the SKU is mapped to the ID, and over here, when you place an order, SpreadSimple will pass a value, which is the title, the SKU, image, price, and quantity, for example, and then we iterate within this result. The next step now is to connect Google Sheet and tell, hey, we need to work with a row. And to identify the right row to work with, we will need this, the SKU. Now, pretty simple. We need just select the lookup spreadsheet row. We select the lookup column number A, which is the first column, as you see here, which contains all the ID. And when we select the SKU from this step, we will receive an API response, which will give us all the values basically of that ID row. This is important because the row contains a lot of values, as you can see. All those values are mapped here now, and what we need to check is this, the row index. Row index number 3 is basically telling Pabbly that it's working on this level of row, and we need now to obviously make sure this is the right value. We need to pass for the next step to map correctly the product. So next step, it's an update step. What we need to do now, we need basically to tell to our Google Sheet file how many items we sold in terms of quantity. So we need to tell him that this row, the number basically 3 of this 3 cushion sofa, has been sold for a quantity of 1, for example. So over here, we update a cell value with the Google Sheet, and we map the value of the quantity here, and we select the range number Q. So the range is very important, as I said before, because basically we are telling that this column in the third row has a quantity of 1. This is the second step. So in the second step, as you can see here, we have a quantity key value. So we sold of this item one piece, and it's mapped here. So we're telling basically this to Pabbly. The API response will update the column, which is good because now this will be 1. But when this will be 1, those two values won't be obviously deducted automatically. So we need now to make something which is a calculation, and this is the tricky part. This is where I had some issue, to be fairly honest, because I had the flow clean in my mind, but I needed to, shape it up better. So we simply add a number for mother with application, simple spreadsheet formula. It's a sum, but now we want to add a minus sign before the quantity value, and then we want to obviously subtract that value within the remaining. So over here, let's say we got 100, sold is 1. So if we sum up those values, it will be 101, while we want to make 99. So the trick is to add a minus value, a minus sign, sorry, before the value of the quantity. So 1 will become minus 1. So the calculation done, the sum now with 100 and between 100 and minus 1 will make it the field P equal to 99. So when we make this calculation, by the way, we will have a response which will give us a result. It's a simple result of a sum formula. So 4, or in our case, let's say 99 is the result. The last two steps are very easy. We got this value, and we want this value to modify those two field columns. So first one, we select the column number P, and we assign the value of the result we got here. The number P is the remaining, and we want to make the same for the initial stock. So the next one is exactly the same. We update the cell value of the column number O with the result we got here in step number 5. Once we do that, we save, and the flow is complete. This is what we do from start. I encourage you to watch it again from obviously start, and if you have something not clear, comment below my video. As a last side note, 2 things. The first one is this is the history of the SpreadSimple. As you can see, I made quite an extensive testing before releasing the video, so I'm pretty sure it works. It works pretty well. And the last thing is that it will only consume 4 tasks. At start there were 12, so I made it very, very complex, but I was able to shape it also thanks to Niraj and his colleague at work, like Navim. They were both very, very useful to me to understand what I was not picking up correctly with Pabbly, and also watching their videos, especially the Niraj one was very, very interesting. They got a video on WooCommerce. I strongly encourage you to use their tutorials, which are step by step, and they are very clean. So Pabbly Connect is a very nice app in my opinion. It's developing fast. I have the lifetime deal, which is now running again. So if you like my tutorial, you want to encourage me to make more of this, I will put an affiliate link, which may help me, obviously, with a partial commission. You won't pay more. The price will be exactly the same, but you will help me, obviously, for a small revenue from them. So thanks for watching, and keep following my channel. Thanks again. Bye.